Welcome back to my Unreal Engine 5 C++ Tetris-Like tutorial. First things first, I want in this video to be able to change the slice. So that's have the blocks that are in play move up out of the way and then start a new slice and then switch back and forth. So that's the goal of this video. But in order to do that, I needed to make sure that tick was enabled on the block base. I think in a previous video I disabled this. That also means that down here in C++, you're going to need to override the tick function. So if you followed along and deleted that along with me, this needs recreated again. So with that out of the way, let's go back into block base. So here's another thing. I set this to true here. This is in the constructor, but if you hit it in the actual blueprint as well, I don't think it'll update no matter what you set it to here. So if you want it to override what's in blueprint, you're going to need to stick this in begin play. And then that'll make sure that as soon as the game begins, it'll set tick to true no matter what you had it defaulted to. But that can cause problems because then you may change it in blueprints and wonder why it's not working when you overwrote it in code. So just something that I thought I'd bring your attention to. Now, let me look at my diff file here. I did a lot in this one, so buckle up. This is going to be a pretty big one. So first thing after the tick was I added a whole bunch of functions. So set active slice and unset active slice, and then set in play position. I believe all of these, set active, set inactive, and is animating. These are all brand new. So let's go through them one by one. So for set active slice, this is taking a boolean that you also needed to add over here. I believe I added the in-play position and in-cube position as well. So don't forget those. Just double check all of these. Make sure that you have all these protected variables and functions available to you because we're going to be using them all. I believe this was in here already. So this is just saying that we're moving the blocks out of the way by 1,000 units. But anyway, back to what we were doing over here. This is for the animation. So if it's going active, we're setting the actor location using the Kismet math library. This is something that you need an include for, so don't forget that. But we're taking its current location, setting it to the in play position by delta time at the switch speed. And then if the actor location equals the in play position, then going active is going to become false, and then it will stop getting these. Now, unset active slice is just the same thing, just opposite. We're going from the cube position, or we're going from in play to the cube position, and just using the same switch speed. But we have a different boolean here. This is for going inactive. Now, these are what we're checking for the animate is animating function. Now, the set active and set inactive, all these are doing is I'm calling them, since these are protected, these are basically just a setter, so that I can call these public functions from I believe it's player board. And so we can just say set active, and then be going active will be set to true. And then going active will begin animating. Now, so we have the ability to make them active and inactivate them. We have the animation set up, but these are being called in that tick function that we set up earlier. So set active slice and unset active slice, they're getting called in tick at all times. but those booleans are preventing them from animating all the time. So most of the time these are just going to be skipped over, but put those in tick, make sure you're actually ticking. Okay, so we have the ability to set active, set inactive, but we also want to know if we're animating. So this is going to be for the transitions between slices. We don't want to be adding tetraminnows to the queue or putting them in play if it is animating. So I set up this is animating function, and all it is if we're going active or we're going inactive, then we're animating. And this is going to be called from, I believe, player board is where it's being used the most. Now, set in play position is just a, these two, I'm not sure that I like the way that I did this, because it's kind of like causing a one-way dependency, but it's just sort of a quick and dirty way that I handled it. But in any case, we're taking the in-play vector and the current slice that we're on. So set in-play position is basically just setting the vector of where it's going to be when it's in play on the player board. And then the slice only matters to the cube position because the board isn't going to move, only the slice is. And then set in cube position, it's just taking the in play position X and the in play position Z. The only thing that changes is the Y, which is the slice Y. And then for the Z, we're adding the activate deactivate distance, which is that 1000 units. So we're moving it up out of the way above the board by 1000 units and putting it where the active slice is. Okay, so I think that covers everything for the block. Let me go over, look at my source control. Yeah, I think that's good. If you so desired, we don't actually use begin play. You can delete that, but it's not going to be called all the time. It's just called at begin play. So it's not going to cause like a lot of performance issues with that. Okay, so I think, oh yeah, so the tetraminnow base, we need to call that as well. Call that to everyone's attention. There is just one new function that was added. Let's Alt O. Okay, set block active inactive positions. Now all this is doing is going through each block and setting the in play position and the slice that it's active in. So this is all that was added to tetraminnow base. Yeah, that's the only function. It is public, so make sure that you put this in the public section, and it's a float slice Y. All right, so that's all that was added there. Let's get these out of the way. Now, for the player board, let me go over and look at my source control for a second. Player board, C++. Okay, so all we did here was in playerboard.h, we added change active slice and is end slice. Is end slice, I'll go over that one quickly because it's the easiest, is there's a whole bunch of places where I was checking if the active slice Y is equal to the end slice. So I just swapped that out for a function, so it's more descriptive. And then we have the change active slice up here where it's handling the logic of actually changing the active slice. So if a tetraminnow is not in play, we set the board to be switching. We check if it's the end slice. If it is, then the active slice goes to 100, which is the beginning slice. And if not, then it just adds 100 to it. Then if the Tetra Minnow is in play, then we want to move it back up to the start position, because if the blocks that are coming into play overlap with the Tetra Minnow in play, then it will freeze it in place. You won't be able to move it, and then you'll have overlapping blocks, and that's just not good. Then we're looping through all the blocks that need to go inactive. So blocks in play if the actor location Y position, or if the block's Y position is equal to that of the player board, then we want to set it inactive. And then we want to loop through all the blocks in play. And if the block's Y position equals the active slice position, then we want to set them active. Now, this is for the scanning logic. We're not quite there yet. But then after it changes the slice, then we want to set the active slice handle. The active slice handle is something that we did need to add over here. So I just put it down below player controller ref. And then the other thing we need to do is at drop ended. I believe this was commented out, so comment it back in. All it's really doing is if the timer is not active, then we change the active slice for the active slice handle. And then there's one more place that we want to call it at the beginning of the game. When we hit begin play, we want to kick off that first slice timer. But then afterwards, from that point forward, it's handled by the changing active slice. Now, one more thing that I changed was the way the code is set up now. This didn't matter in the previous version of this game, but since I'm doing this piecemeal, check set in play, I had a comment in here saying that the Tetra Minnow in play would always exist after check set in play, but it's not going to, because I am now checking is end slice. Not there. So check set in play. Now, not only is it checking if the Tetra Minnow in play is a null pointer, but if it's not the end slice, that it will only do it if it's not on the end slice. So that takes care of that. And yeah, same thing here. Can't drop. I don't know if I really need this anymore since I moved this over here. But the issue that this was causing was when I would hit the end slice, it would still allow me to put the Tetra Minnow in play, and so it would be like I had 11 slices instead of 10, making it into a cube. Again, this is only just temporary because I'm not animating the scanner. This was actually being handled by a board status of scanning in the previous version, but we're not quite there yet. So one moment while I look back over my source control, make sure that there's nothing else I forgot, and then we'll do a test. Okay, there were indeed things that I forgot to bring attention to. So the first is in drop ended. We had some stuff commented out here. I believe it was just these three. Let me look. No, it was this one. These three lines were commented out, and this line was commented out. So those need commented back in. Check set in play, I believe I already went over this, but I added in this is end slice check. So that's in there as well. So that was check set in play. Set Tetra Minnow move direction ending. This is end slice was commented out. That also needs commented back in. And then status picker. So I added a new status here where it's looped through all the blocks in play. checks if they're animating. If one is found, then we set the debug message to EBS switching and the board status to switching. So that is in there now too. And we already went over change active slice. But make sure you comment this out because we're not scanning yet. Okay, I think that does it. One last thing. Since the slice changes rely on the world position, which is kind of a design flaw, I should probably set them relative to the player board. But yeah, I didn't want to have to deal with like setting the rotation to be the same as the player board and that kind of stuff. But what I wanted was the beginning slice to start at 100. So now this is the world origin. So we offset by 400 the player board on the x-axis in the positive 400, and then we moved it forward by 1100. So the cube is going to go from 100 to 1000. It's going to go right up to the edge of the player board, and then the active slice is 1100. Okay. So that covers everything in the editor. We set the blocks to tick, which is good, and the player board has been moved into position. I think we're good. Why are my frames so low? Oh wait, do I have multiple versions of the editor open? Try this one more time. Okay, I think we're good. So we're placing Tetra minnows. Status is changing after 10 seconds. Move that up out of the way. Fantastic. Okay. I'm gonna go through all 10, make sure everything is working as expected, but I'll be right back. Okay, this is the last slice, so now I'm hitting the button. I shouldn't be able to add a Tetra minnow. We're good until it loops back around. Fantastic. All right, I think we're good to go. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.